Welcome, my soft-thinking listener. You've found yourself in the company of the Sleepy Sloth once again. A slow, scientifically minded fellow who enjoys facts, new and ancient boats, and things that drift gently on water. I must tell you something before we begin. Today, I consider myself a scientist in early watercraft. A scientist who is almost always correct, except for those few times when I am not. But even then, I prefer to drift gently onward, rather than fuss over it. Because what truly matters is the information itself. Before I start, please, let me know. What is the most boring thing you would secretly love hearing about? Let me know gently, in the comments. Now, let us begin today's episode of the very slow evolution of boats. Long before engines roared or sails billowed proudly, our ancient ancestors found themselves needing to cross gentle rivers or calm lakes. Around 7000 BC, the very earliest known watercraft were simple bundles of reeds tied together with the tenderest care, forming what we now call reed boats. These humble crafts floated softly atop the water, their buoyant reed bundles forming a patchwork that cradled early travelers in a quiet embrace. These vessels were not designed for speed or grandeur, but for steady passage across serene waterways, perhaps carrying gathered reeds or small loads with minimal fuss. The reeds themselves, usually papyrus or similar aquatic plants, were chosen for their buoyancy and flexibility, a natural collaboration between plant and water, an ancient quietness manifesting as a craft. Moving gently onward, about 5000 BC in the Nile region, these reed bundles evolved slightly into what we call the Egyptian papyrus boat. Papyrus, though still a reed, was carefully harvested and dried, its stems bundled with skilled hands to craft vessels that could carry both people and goods down the slow, steady flow of the Nile River. The Nile's water lent itself to the soothing rhythm of these boats' passage, gliding across water still calm and unhurried. The smell of the papyrus, the gentle sound of water lapping, the soft creak of bundles shifting, these were the subtle symphony of early human navigation, a lullaby in reeds and river. But not all watercraft were simply bundles. By around 4000 BC, dugout canoes appeared, hollowed logs painstakingly shaped to float. These log boats, crafted from single tree trunks, represented a slow but firm step into woodworking. Imagine the quiet patience required to carve such a boat, using stone tools and controlled fires, a slow rhythm of scraping and burning that would yield a hollow vessel. This logboat was heavier than its reed cousins but sturdier, suited to the calm rivers and lakes of early human habitats. The sensory feel of rough wood meeting cool water, the gentle creak as it slid quietly along. These were the hallmarks of early transport. Let us float gently onward to about 3500 BC and the Ubad culture of the Gulf, where reed rafts with bipod masts appeared. The bipod mast, a simple two-legged upright pole, supported sails made from woven plant fibers, catching faint breezes and allowing boats to glide without human effort. This innovation, though unassuming, marked a moment when humans began to experiment with wind as a helper rather than relying solely on paddles or poles. Imagine the slow dance of sail and water, the gentle tug of wind caught in humble fabric, a quiet conversation between earth and sky. Around 3000 BC, the ancient Egyptians took another small step, the planked cedar Nile cargo ship. These vessels were not simply bundles or dugouts, but constructed from overlapping cedar planks, fastened carefully and sealed with natural resins. The planks offered a smoother hull and larger carrying capacity, allowing these ships to carry heavier loads across the Nile's calm stretches. The scent of cedar mingled with the earthy Nile breeze, the sound of water brushing against smooth wood was a delicate murmur of trade and transport. Moving forward, about 2000 BC, the Egyptians also developed wooden barish cargo boats, larger and sturdier, often described in tomb paintings and ancient texts. These barish were important for moving bulk goods like grain or stone blocks, their design emphasizing stability and capacity over speed. One might imagine the slow rocking of such a vessel as it traveled the gentle Nile, the heavy cargo shifting softly with the water's sway, a steady and reliable workhorse of the ancient world. And then, about 1500 BC, across the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians crafted merchant galleys, slender, oared boats designed for trade along coasts and islands. These galleys, often about 20 meters long, had a graceful shape that cut through waves quietly and efficiently. The rowers' steady strokes were like a slow heartbeat, powering voyages that connected distant ports in a long, peaceful rhythm of commerce. Soon after, the Phoenicians introduced the bireme galley, with 2 rows of oars on each side, a gentle increase in propulsion and complexity. This hybrid craft was used for both trade and occasional skirmishes, but mostly it served as a reliable means to move goods and people along the Mediterranean's tranquil waters. By 1000 BC, the Assyrians had developed river cargo barges designed for heavy freight along inland waterways. These barges, broad and flat-bottomed, slid quietly beneath the surface of rivers, carrying bulky loads without fuss. The sound of lapping water against their broad hulls was a soft, steady presence, a gentle companion to the slow movements of river traffic. About 800 BC, the Greeks sailed their pentaconter traders, long, narrow ships with around 50 oars. These vessels were built for steady voyages across the Aegean Sea, combining rowing power with a single square sail to catch mild winds. Their sleek forms cut through the water with a soft, unhurried grace, the rhythmic splash of oars a steady, soothing pulse against the gentle backdrop of sea and sky. Around 700 BC, we drift softly into the era of the Greek and Phoenician bireme, a vessel that quietly balanced the utility of oars with the subtle embrace of sails. These boats, with 2 tiers of oars on each side, were slender and nimble, cutting through the still waters like a slow feather floating on a pond's surface. The bireme was often used for trade and warfare, though one might imagine the quiet hum of oarsmen's rhythmic strokes more than the clash of battle. The dual-rowed oars increased power without adding much weight or complexity, allowing for a gentle, steady pace across coastal routes. It is worth noting, perhaps as a slow little detour, that the bireme's design subtly influenced the development of larger vessels, serving as a calm intermediary step between single-oared boats and the more complex triremes that followed. Imagine the wood, carefully carved and joined, the faint creak as the boat flexed slightly beneath a whispering wind, the water parting with barely a ripple, a soothing symphony of ancient seafaring patience. Let us float gently onward to approximately 600 BC, where the Etruscans crafted trading ships that bore the quiet dignity of commerce upon the Mediterranean waves. These vessels were broader and sturdier than their predecessors, designed not for swift raids but for the careful transport of goods like pottery, metals, and foodstuffs. The Etruscan ships often featured a single mast with a square sail, catching the wind with a soft, unhurried grace, allowing crews to rest as their vessels glided across gentle waters. The hulls were constructed from joined planks, fastened meticulously with wooden pegs or copper nails, a detail that speaks of slow, deliberate craftsmanship. It is a fact not often celebrated, but the smell of fresh pine resin used to seal the seams was a subtle part of the experience, mingling with salty sea air to create a faint, almost imperceptible aroma that accompanied these voyages. The Etruscan trading ship was less about speed or spectacle and more about reliability, a slow, steady partner to the rhythms of ancient Mediterranean trade. Shifting our gaze to the 5th century BC, the Greek trireme emerges, a vessel that combined both cargo and passenger use with a sleek design featuring 3 tiers of oars. This boat was a marvel of disciplined human coordination, with oarsmen seated in close harmony, their slow, measured strokes propelling the ship gently over the water's glassy surface. While often remembered for military use, triremes also carried people and goods, allowing for quiet, dependable travel between city-states. The wooden hull was carefully shaped for minimal resistance, its slender form a testament to slow, precise engineering. The trireme sails, typically square, were furled during rowing and unfurled to catch the wind when the sea was kind, adding a whisper of movement to an otherwise steady glide. One might imagine the soft rhythm of water dripping from oars, the faint creak of wood swelling and contracting under the gentle touch of waves, a lullaby of human ingenuity and calm waterborne motion. By the 4th century BC, Greek merchant galleys began to incorporate the lateen sail, a triangular sail set on a long yard mounted at an angle. This small change brought with it a new relationship to the wind, less reliance on its direction and more ability to harness its whispers from various angles. The merchant galley maintained its oars but used sails for longer, less hurried voyages, allowing crews to conserve energy and enjoy the soothing, repetitive motion of the sea. These galleys, built with overlapping wooden planks, offered greater cargo space and stability, trading a bit of nimbleness for calm endurance on open waters. Imagine the sails catching drowsy breezes, the sound of soft canvas flapping slowly against the mast, the gentle rocking of the vessel as it followed invisible currents beneath a sky brushed with wispy clouds, a slow voyage of quiet commerce and whispered exchanges. Around the 3rd century BC, Roman quinqueremes entered the scene, large ships with 5 rows of oars on each side, designed primarily for transport but occasionally adapted for war. These vessels were heavier, slower, and more stable, built to carry soldiers, supplies, or bulk goods across the Mediterranean's tranquil expanses. The construction involved thick hulls planked with heavy timber, sealed with pitch to hold the calm waters at bay. The experience aboard such a ship was one of measured calm, punctuated by the slow splash of oars and the gentle creak of wood contracting in the sun. As a soft aside, it is interesting that quinqueremes were among the first to experiment with multiple decks, offering more space but also increasing the vessel's draft and reducing its speed. The slow power of many rowers worked together in near silence, a quiet demonstration of human endurance and communal effort upon vast, still seas. Let us float a little further to the 2nd century BC, when Ptolemaic merchant ships introduced subtle variants tailored to the Nile's slow currents and the Mediterranean's gentle waves. These vessels were adapted to carry grain and other essential goods, balancing capacity with steady, unhurried navigation. Their design favored broad hulls for stability and shallow drafts to navigate rivers and coastal waters without fuss. The decks were often low, allowing for easy loading and unloading, while the sails, lateen or square, caught soft winds that nudged the ships along like whispers. It's a quiet marvel that the Ptolemaic ships blended inherited Egyptian shipbuilding traditions with Hellenistic innovations, creating boats that were as much a floating marketplace as a mode of transport. Imagine the slow shifting of cargo beneath a canopy of sails, the quiet murmur of water flowing past, and the gentle rhythm of ancient trade unfolding without hurry or fuss. In the 1st century BC, Roman navis funeraria vessels became the workhorses of grain and oil transport across the empire. These merchant ships, often large and broad, prioritized capacity over speed, built to carry the empire's vital sustenance with slow, steady reliability. The navis funeraria's hulls were rounded and heavy, sealed with pitch to prevent leaks, their decks designed to protect fragile cargo from sun and salt spray. The oars, when present, were supplementary. Mostly, the ships relied on sails, often the lateen type, to catch mild Mediterranean breezes. It is worth noting, in this slow moment of reflection, that the navis funeraria were frequently seen plying the routes between North Africa, Italy, and Spain, moving like gentle giants on a sea of calm productivity. One can almost hear the soft slap of waves against thick hulls, the faint creak of timber bending ever so slightly under the ship's slow, deliberate passage. Around the 1st century AD, the Liburnian escort or tug galley emerged, a smaller, more maneuverable craft designed to assist larger ships in ports or to escort convoys. These galleys featured a single deck with 1 or 2 banks of oars, combining lightness with strength. Their shape was slender and sharp, allowing them to slip quietly through harbor waters, guiding or towing larger vessels with a calm precision. The Liburnian galley often carried a small lateen sail, used when wind conditions were favorable, and otherwise relied on steady rowing, its rhythmic pulses echoing softly against the harbor walls. A gentle detail to consider is how these galleys contributed to maritime safety and coordination in bustling ancient ports, their presence as quiet helpers rather than swift aggressors. The subtle art of nudging and guiding large, lumbering ships in tight spaces was a slow dance of trust and timing, carried out in near silence. In the 2nd century AD, Roman grain barges, or navis rada, were a common sight on the empire's rivers and coastal waters. These broad, flat-bottomed boats were designed to carry heavy loads of grain to feed sprawling cities, their construction focusing on capacity and stability rather than speed or elegance. The navis rada's hull was typically shallow, allowing passage through calm, shallow waterways with ease. Imagine the soft creak of timber beneath massive sacks of grain, the muted thump of cargo settling as the barge glided gently along a river's slow flow. The barges often relied on sails when the wind was favorable, but otherwise, they were towed or pulled along by crews, emphasizing patience and persistence over haste. The quiet importance of these vessels lies not in their glamour but in their steady, reliable support of daily life, an uncelebrated rhythm of supply and sustenance. Drifting into the 3rd century AD, Byzantine merchant dromons appeared, early lateen sail galleys that blended the rowing traditions of the Mediterranean with new sailing technologies. The dromon was a sleek vessel, narrower and lighter than many predecessors, designed for trade and occasional defense. Its lateen sail allowed it to harness the wind more effectively, making voyages across the eastern Mediterranean a slow but steady affair. The oars, arranged in a single bank, propelled the ship when winds faltered, their strokes measured and calm. The dromon's design subtly reflects the gradual transition from oar-dominant to sail-dominant vessels, a slow evolution shaped by centuries of maritime experience. The gentle sound of canvas stretching in the breeze, the quiet dip of oars into water, and the creak of well-maintained wood all combine into a soft melody of ancient navigation, perfect for drifting into restful thought. At about 600 AD, the dhow emerged in the Indian Ocean, a trader's vessel with a characteristic lateen sail and slender wooden hull. Dhows, built from planks sewn together with coconut fiber and caulked with tree resin, moved slowly but surely along predictable monsoon routes. Their sails, often large and triangular, caught the ocean's mild breezes, turning the vessel into a drifting companion rather than a forceful conqueror of waves. The craft's gentle sway and steady progress through tropical waters painted a quiet picture of commerce, culture, and connection across distant shores. One might imagine the warm smell of resin mingling with salty air, the soft creak of planks flexing as the dhow kissed the ocean's surface, a lullaby of trade and tradition whispered on steady tides. Near 700 AD, an Arabian variant of the dhow known as the bogla developed, a larger, heavier vessel designed to carry greater cargo loads across the Indian Ocean. The bogla featured a broad hull and tall lateen sails that caught the monsoon winds with slow majesty. This ship was a patient traveler, taking days or weeks to cross vast distances while its crew tended sails and cargo with measured care. The structure was reinforced with internal frames, and the planks were fastened carefully to withstand the slow battering of salt and spray. The bogla's movements were languid, almost meditative, as it traced the ancient routes connecting Arabia, East Africa, and South Asia. Imagine the muffled sound of water caressing the hull, the faint rustle of sailcloth, and the deep, steady rhythm of long voyages under gentle stars. Around 800 AD, the Chinese junk, emerging during the Song dynasty, presented a distinct approach to shipbuilding, characterized by its flat bottom, high stern, and multiple masts with battened sails. These sails, made of panels supported by bamboo battens, allowed precise control and slow, deliberate adjustments to the wind. Junks were often large cargo carriers, their hulls compartmentalized with bulkheads that added stability and safety, an early form of watertight division that kept the vessel balanced during slow, sometimes stormy, voyages. The junk's construction used wood carefully selected for its buoyancy and strength, and the entire vessel moved with a steady, almost hypnotic cadence through waters ranging from rivers to coastal seas. One might think of the gentle tapping of wooden timbers, the faint flutter of sails against the sky, and the soft swell of waves embracing this ancient marvel of maritime engineering. Moving to around 900 AD, the Viking longship, a light cargo and war vessel, offered a design focused on speed and shallow draft, but also quiet grace. These ships, carved from overlapping wooden planks called clinker-built, had sleek, narrow hulls that allowed them to slip silently through fjords and coastal waters. The longship's single square sail and multiple oars worked in tandem for steady, measured propulsion. Unlike bulkier cargo vessels, these boats carried lighter goods in small groups of warriors or traders, their movement characterized by a rhythm as constant and gentle as the tide. The salty scent of pine tar used in waterproofing and the soft creak of timbers flexing were companions to their voyages, blending the quiet thrill of exploration with the comforting predictability of a well-crafted vessel. By the 10th century AD, the Viking Nar evolved as an ocean-going cargo ship, broader and more capacious than the longship, designed to carry heavier loads across the often unpredictable North Atlantic. Its hull was deeper and rounder, providing stability in rough waters, while its single square sail captured the steady northern winds. The Nar moved at a slow, persistent pace, its creaking timbers and the gentle slap of waves against the hull a soothing soundtrack for its voyages between Scandinavia, Iceland, and beyond. The ship's construction was a labor of slow, careful craftsmanship, the overlapping planks fastened securely with iron rivets and coated in tar to withstand the salt and spray. The Nar's design embodied endurance and patience, qualities necessary for long journeys across cold, quiet seas, where silence and solitude became companions to sailors wrapped in wool and warm thoughts. And so we continue, gently sailing through history's slow currents, where each boat is a softly turning gear in the vast machinery of human endeavor, quiet witnesses to countless unremarkable, yet utterly essential, voyages. Drifting into the soft embrace of the 11th century AD, the Norman cog emerges from misty northern waters as a simple yet sturdy clinker-built cargo ship. Its overlapping wooden planks, carefully fastened to create a durable hull, whispered of slow, steady voyages across the chilly North Sea. These cogs featured a single mast with a square sail, designed more for reliability than speed, ideal for hauling heavy loads of timber, grain, and salted fish between ports with quiet persistence. The hull's rounded shape allowed the cog to carry substantial cargo while maintaining enough stability for coastal waters and estuaries. One might imagine the gentle creaking of timber as waves lapped softly against its sides, the faint scent of pine tar mingling with salty sea air, the slow rhythm of wind and water carrying these ships steadily from one mossy harbor to another. A slow little detour, perhaps, to consider that the cog's design became a foundation for later northern European ships, its quiet practicality echoing through centuries of maritime tradition. Let us float gently onward to the 12th century, when the Hanseatic League refined the cog into an improved hull design that favored greater cargo capacity and seaworthiness. The Hanseatic cog, a workhorse of medieval trade, featured a higher freeboard, meaning taller sides that kept waves from gently spilling over during the rougher seas of the Baltic and North Atlantic. The keel was lengthened for better directional stability, and its clinker-built wooden planks were fastened with iron nails, a slow but sturdy evolution from earlier designs. These ships carried not only goods but the hopes of prosperous trade across a network of moss-lined medieval ports. Imagine the slow, steady beating of sails and the soft, rhythmic splash of water against reinforced hulls, as traders loaded barrels of salted herring, wool, and furs. The Hanseatic cog was a quiet titan of its time, moving through cold fogs and calm seas with the patience of slowly turning gears. Stepping gently across continents and centuries, the 13th century Chinese treasure ships of the Ming dynasty floated majestically along the calm waters of the South China Sea. These vast vessels, some reportedly over 120 meters long, were crafted with multiple decks and a complex system of bulkheads that divided their hulls into compartments, a slow, deliberate safety measure against leaks and sinking. Their sails were made of bamboo matting reinforced with silk, catching the gentle ocean breezes with a soft, whispering grace. These ships were laden with exotic goods, spices, and precious treasures, carrying envoys and goods on voyages as patient and measured as drifting clouds. It is an interesting tangent that the precise dimensions and number of these treasure ships have been the subject of much debate, but the consensus remains on their impressive size and carefully engineered design. Imagine the slow sway of towering masts, the delicate creak of planks expanded and contracted by humidity, and the hushed murmurs of sailors as they navigated the calm seas, a lullaby of commerce and quiet power. As the 14th century dawned, the caravel began to slip through the waters of the Atlantic, a nimble trade ship favored by Portuguese and Spanish explorers. Smaller than many of its contemporaries, the caravel featured a distinctive lateen sail rigging, a triangular sail mounted on an angled yard, that allowed for better maneuverability and the ability to sail somewhat against the wind. The hull was lightly built and usually narrow, made for swift, cautious exploration along coasts and rivers. The caravel's slow, rhythmic dance with the wind enabled sailors to glide softly over waves, a hushed murmur of exploration rather than conquest. It is a quiet marvel that these ships, simple in appearance, played such an unhurried but vital role in the opening of new sea routes, tracing the edges of maps that were still blank. Imagine the gentle flap of sails, the low murmur of water brushing against wooden sides, the steady pulse of oars in moments when the breeze fell silent, a vessel made for slow discovery and patient voyaging. Around the same 14th century, the carrack emerged as a larger oceanic merchant ship, designed to carry goods across longer, open waters with greater cargo capacity than the caravel. With its high rounded stern and forecastle, the carrack's hull offered stability and shelter from the elements, while its 3 or 4 masts bore a combination of square and lateen sails that caught the wind in varying directions, like soft wings spreading over the sea. These ships moved more slowly but could endure longer journeys, their decks alive with the quiet shuffle of sailors tending sails and ropes in measured routines. A slow little detour to observe that the carrack's design was a precursor to the great ships of the Age of Discovery, blending the sturdiness needed for ocean crossings with the patience of careful navigation. Picture the gentle creaking of ropes, the muted splash of waves under a misty sky, the soft sway of the deck beneath the crew's slow, deliberate steps, an ocean-going vessel built for endurance and calm. Moving gently through time into the 15th century, the Spanish galleon took shape as a transatlantic cargo and treasure ship, its design robust and complex. These vessels combined a deep hull with multiple decks, offering both defensive capabilities and large cargo holds for gold, silver, spices, and other precious goods from the New World. The galleon's sails, arranged on 3 or 4 masts with a mixture of square and lateen rigs, caught the Atlantic winds with a patient, unhurried grace. The hulls were reinforced with thick oak timbers, often decorated with slow, ornate carvings that told stories of distant lands and sea-bound dreams. These ships moved with a weighty dignity, their slow, steady progress echoing the long, often perilous voyages across vast oceans. Imagine the muted thud of wooden planks as waves kissed the hull, the soft snap of sailcloth in the breeze, and the deep, resonant creak of ancient timbers holding fast, a majestic lullaby of transoceanic trade and quiet endurance. Entering the 16th century, the Dutch flute appeared as a marvel of efficient cargo design, crafted specifically to maximize storage and minimize crew needs. These slender, tall ships featured a wide hull and a narrow deck, allowing for greater cargo space while reducing tax assessments based on deck area, a slow, clever adaptation to economic demands. The flute's sails were arranged on 2 or 3 masts, mostly square-rigged for steady sailing on ocean currents. Their wooden hulls were built with overlapping planks, sealed with pitch, allowing the vessels to slip quietly through waters with a gentle, unobtrusive presence. It's a fascinating detail that the flute's design influenced shipbuilding well beyond the Netherlands, spreading across Europe as a symbol of slow but steady commercial growth. Picture a misty harbor, the flute sails filled with soft morning light, the water barely disturbed as the vessel glides forward in a quiet rhythm of maritime pragmatism. Also in the 16th century, the East Indiaman came into use as a large colonial trade merchantman, tasked with long voyages between Europe and Asia. These ships were broad and heavily built, designed to carry vast quantities of goods such as spices, textiles, and porcelain, and sometimes armed to deter pirates. The East Indiaman's sails were arranged on 3 masts, often combining square and lateen rigs, enabling slow but steady passage through unpredictable ocean winds. The wooden hulls were planked thickly and sealed carefully to withstand months at sea, their decks filled with the low murmur of sailors maintaining sails and rigging in constant, patient rhythm. A soft observation might be that these ships represented the fusion of European maritime tradition with the practical demands of global trade, slowly weaving together continents in a vast tapestry of quiet exchange. Imagine the gentle creak of timbers under rolling seas, the soft slap of water against hull, and the unchanging hush of distance stretching across the ocean's calm expanse. Gliding into the 17th century, the schooner appeared as a coastal packet and cargo vessel known for its 2 or more masts and fore and aft rigged sails. These ships were smaller and faster, designed for quick, efficient transport along coastlines and rivers. The fore and aft sails allowed for agile navigation and the ability to sail closer to the wind than square-rigged vessels, creating a steady, deliberate dance with the breeze. Schooners often carried goods such as timber, fish, or mail, their decks filled with the muted sounds of hoisting sails and the soft splash of water against narrow hulls. It is a gentle fact that schooners became favored for their ease of handling and versatility, embodying a slow elegance in coastal trade. Picture the sails catching light winds under a soft, gray sky, the vessel moving steadily through misty harbors, a quiet companion to the rhythm of shoreline commerce. Nearby in the 17th century, the Snow emerged as a 2-masted cargo sail ship, distinguished by an additional trysail mast behind the mainmast, allowing for better control of the sails and variable winds. This rigging innovation brought a calm precision to sailing, enabling these vessels to maintain steady courses with fewer crew members. The Snow's hull was robust and broad, designed to carry substantial cargoes of goods like grain, cloth, or salt across moderate distances. Imagine the quiet coordination aboard these ships, the slow adjustment of sails and ropes to shifting breezes, the gentle creak of wood and the soft splash of waves in a measured rhythm. These ships sailed with a quiet assurance, their movements as predictable and comforting as the slow turning of gears in a forgotten clock, offering steady passage through the soft folds of maritime history. By the 18th century, the brig sailed softly into prominence as a 2-masted square-rigged cargo ship. Its design combined the agility of smaller vessels with the cargo capacity of larger ones, making it a common choice for coastal and transoceanic trade. The brig's square sails on both masts allowed it to harness steady winds efficiently, while its relatively compact size made handling easier for small crews. The wooden hull was carefully planked and sealed with tar, designed for resilience over long voyages. The slow, rhythmic flapping of sails and the gentle splash of waves against the hull formed a soothing soundtrack to life aboard. Brigs carried a wide array of goods, from spices to manufactured items, quietly threading together ports and peoples in a slow, steady dance of commerce. One might imagine the faint scent of salt and pine tar mingling with the quiet murmur of sails, an unremarkable, yet comforting, lullaby of the sea. In the 18th century, the bark gently took its place upon the world's waters, a vessel distinguished by its 3 or more masts and a thoughtful mixture of sail rigging. This combination of square sails on the fore and main masts, paired with fore and aft sails on the mizzen mast, allowed the bark to catch the wind from various angles, providing a steady, adaptable pace that moved quietly through seas both calm and choppy. Its wooden hull, often carefully planked and sealed with tar or pitch, offered a balance between cargo capacity and manageable handling for relatively small crews. The bark's versatility made it a favored ship for merchant voyages, capable of drifting serenely across oceans or navigating coastal routes with equal grace. Picture the slow sway of sails catching light breezes, the muted creak of rigging gently responding to wind shifts, and the soft splash of water against the hull as the ship moves in unhurried harmony with the sea's rhythms. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, barks were often used in the whaling industry, their stable design offering a quiet sanctuary amid the vast, open ocean and allowing crews to work with the slow patience required for their unique and demanding trade. Turning now to the dawn of the 19th century, the year 1802 brought forth the Charlotte Dundas, known as the world's first commercial canal steamboat. This vessel, designed by William Symington, marked a gentle revolution in navigation by harnessing steam power to ease the slow, laborious towing of barges along canals. The Charlotte Dundas's paddle wheel, mounted at the rear, turned languidly, pushing the boat and its towed cargo through narrow waterways with a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. Its wooden hull was compact and practical, emphasizing function over form, designed to slip softly along calm canal waters without disturbing the gentle banks lined with moss and reeds. It is an interesting note that the Charlotte Dundas was initially met with hesitation, its steam-powered motion a curious contrast to the slow, traditional horse-drawn towing, but its success paved the way for future steam navigation. Imagine the faint hiss of steam mingling with the soft splash of paddle wheels turning, the quiet creak of timber framing, and the slow, deliberate motion of early industrial ingenuity melding with pastoral tranquility. In 1807, a gentle wave of innovation crossed the Atlantic with the launch of the Clermont, the first successful steam packet in the United States. Designed by Robert Fulton, the Clermont embodied the promise of steam-powered river travel, gliding slowly and steadily up the Hudson River between New York City and Albany. Its paddle wheels churned softly, producing a steady, rhythmic sound that mingled with the gentle lap of water against the wooden hull. The Clermont's two-story superstructure housed passengers who could settle into its calm, measured voyage, a soothing contrast to the slower, sometimes unpredictable pace of sail-powered travel. This vessel, though modest by modern standards, was revolutionary in its time for demonstrating that steam power could reliably carry people and goods along inland waterways. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Clermont's hull was built from robust pine and oak, materials chosen for their quiet strength and buoyancy, sealed with tar to withstand the soft caress of freshwater tides. Imagine the muffled chug of the engine, the slow turning of paddle wheels, and the tranquil glide beneath slowly shifting skies. A few years later, in 1812, the Comet began its unhurried voyages as Europe's first steam packet, navigating the rivers and coastal waters of Scotland. The Comet's wooden hull was crafted with care, its paddle wheels powered by a compact steam engine that breathed gentle puffs of steam into cool air. It carried passengers and cargo along the River Clyde and Firth of Clyde, offering a smoother, more predictable alternative to sail or oar. The vessel's slow, rhythmic paddling provided a constant, soothing pulse, as if the boat were softly breathing with the water itself. It is an understated marvel that the Comet ushered in a new era of regular, scheduled travel in Europe, quietly changing the rhythms of commerce and communication. Picture the quiet hiss of steam mingling with the distant calls of seabirds, the creak of wooden joints flexing gently with each stroke of the paddle wheel, and the soft spray of water touched by the ship's passage, an orchestration of slow industrial progress entwined with natural calm. By 1819, a notably more ambitious venture was underway with the SS Savannah, the first steam-powered vessel to cross the Atlantic Ocean. This hybrid ship carried both sails and a steam engine with paddle wheels, allowing it to drift calmly with the wind or glide steadily under steam power when winds were light or contrary. The SS Savannah's wooden hull was reinforced for ocean travel, and while the steam engine was not powerful enough to maintain continuous motion, it provided a reassuring reliability amid the vast, unpredictable ocean. The ship's passage was a slow but steady triumph, taking weeks to cross the restless Atlantic with measured patience. A soft detour reveals that the SS Savannah carried only enough coal for part of its journey, relying largely on sail power, a reminder that this voyage was as much an experiment in transition as a straightforward crossing. Imagine the gentle swell of ocean waves, the soft slap of sails against rigging, and the muted, comforting throb of a steam engine pulsing beneath the deck, a lullaby of slow technological advance born on restless seas. As we let our thoughts drift, the year 1837 saw the launch of the SS Great Western, the first steam liner purpose-built for regular transatlantic service. This vessel, larger and more robust than the Savannah, featured paddle wheels powered by a steam engine designed to maintain a slow but reliable schedule across the wide ocean. Its hull, crafted from wood and reinforced for oceanic stress, moved with measured grace, the paddle wheels turning steadily like slowly turning gears beneath the waterline. Passengers aboard the Great Western experienced voyages that, while still lengthy by modern standards, were more predictable and comfortable, cushioned by the ship's slow but persistent rhythm. A soft, fascinating fact is that the ship's design was heavily influenced by earlier sailing vessels, its form a gentle blend of old and new technologies. Imagine the muffled thud of paddle wheels turning beneath a canopy of billowing sails, the slow, steady pulse of steam power resonating through timbered decks, a quiet testament to human patience and engineering. The 1839 clipper ship, exemplified by the Scottish Maid, drifted into maritime history as a vessel designed for speed and long-distance trade, particularly in tea. Clipper ships were slender, with sharply raked masts and a large sail area designed to catch every whisper of wind, slicing through the waves with a grace that contrasted with the slow-moving steamships of the era. The Scottish Maid, considered one of the earliest clippers, balanced sleekness with a sturdy wooden hull crafted with care and precision. The soft crackle of sails in the wind and the steady slap of the hull against the sea formed a soothing, rhythmic lullaby. It is an interesting aside that the clipper's speed was both a commercial advantage and a source of stress for crews, but from a restful perspective, one might imagine the vessel's smooth motion as a feather drifting swiftly yet gently over calm waters. The clipper's journey through history is a quiet dance of wind and wood, a slow and steady reminder of nature's patient push. The extreme clipper, such as the Rainbow built in 1845, took the design principles of the earlier clippers to a more pronounced point, with sharper bows and even larger sail areas intended to maximize speed. These ships were lighter and narrower, with hulls designed for less resistance and more agility. While their swiftness might suggest excitement, the extreme clippers' voyages were marked by the slow, repetitive cycles of raising sails, trimming rigging, and maintaining the delicate balance between wind and water. The wooden planks of the hull flexed softly under stress, their joints sealed with oakum and tar, carrying cargoes like tea and spices in quiet procession across the vast oceans. A slow little detour to note that the Rainbow and her kin were the harbingers of a fleeting era before steamships took dominance, their passage a whispered sigh of fading sail-powered grace. Imagine the soft, persistent wind brushing sails, the gentle creak of rigging, and the muted slap of waves, an ocean-spanning lullaby woven from wood and breeze. In 1865, the SS Agamemnon introduced a quiet revolution with its iron-hulled construction, a departure from the traditional wooden ships that had long traversed the seas. This iron freighter, powered by steam engines, moved steadily with more durability and less maintenance than wooden predecessors. The iron plates, riveted carefully together, provided a robust and silent protection against the wear of salt and wave. The Agamemnon's steam propulsion was slow but powerful, its engines turning large propellers beneath the hull in a steady, unhurried rotation. This ship marked the gradual shift toward industrialized maritime transport, moving heavy cargo across oceans with a dependable and quiet strength. One might imagine the faint metallic hum of machinery beneath the deck, the muted clang of rivets settling, and the soft, steady pulse of steam engines propelling iron through endless waters, a slow heartbeat of industrial progress cradled by the vast sea. Let us float onward to 1870, when the steam tramp steamer quietly filled the world's ports with a gentle ubiquity. These vessels, designed for general cargo, lacked the fixed schedules of passenger liners, moving instead wherever trade winds and cargo needs directed. Their hulls, often iron or steel, bore simple, practical designs optimized for durability and space. Steam engines powered large, slow-turning propellers, pushing these ships through rivers, coasts, and oceans alike with a steady, unexciting rhythm. The tramp steamer's decks echoed with the soft shuffle of cargo handling, the low thrum of engines, and the occasional creak of metals settling under saltwater's persistent embrace. It is a quiet fact that tramp steamers were the backbone of maritime commerce, their constant, unhurried presence ensuring the slow, reliable flow of goods worldwide. Picture the slow rotation of propellers, the gentle billow of steam exhaust, and the quiet creak of metal hulls, a lullaby of steady movement and enduring routine. The year 1881 brought the SS Aberdeen, the first merchant vessel equipped with a triple expansion steam engine, a technological marvel of efficiency and quiet endurance. This engine used steam in 3 successive stages of expansion, extracting more energy and consuming less fuel in a slow but significant improvement over earlier designs. The Aberdeen's iron hull was sleek and robust, designed for long voyages with reduced coal consumption, allowing for quieter, longer trips. The steady thrum of the triple expansion engine was softer and more constant than previous engines, creating a calm and persistent pulse beneath the vessel's decks. This efficiency allowed the Aberdeen to operate on tighter schedules and longer routes without the noisy interruptions of frequent refueling. Imagine the gentle vibrations of engine parts turning in concert, the muffled hiss of steam released with care, and the quiet, assured glide of an iron ship moving with the patient heartbeat of refined technology, a lullaby of progress whispered across slow, rolling waves. In the year 1894, a quiet revolution whispered across the seas with the arrival of the Turbinia, the world's first turbine-powered merchant vessel. Unlike its slower, piston-driven predecessors, the Turbinia's steam turbine engine spun with a delicate, continuous motion, turning its propellers more smoothly and efficiently than the rhythmic pounding of earlier engines. Its sleek hull, crafted with careful precision, cut through the water with less resistance, allowing the vessel to glide gently and with surprising speed, though speed is not our concern here, but rather the soft, continuous hum of this new kind of power. The turbine's blades, invisible beneath the waves, rotated with an almost hypnotic steadiness, like the slow turning of a celestial gear, moving the ship through rolling waters wrapped in a blanket of mist. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Turbinia was initially built as a demonstration craft and briefly startled the Royal Navy with its quiet swiftness, a gentle reminder that technological progress often begins in hushed surprise. Picture the vessel's steady thrum, the gentle lap of waves against its bow, and the soothing sense of momentum carried forward by innovation's patient pulse. Gliding softly into the early 20th century, the 1903 Vandal quietly pioneered a new path as the first diesel-electric cargo ship. This vessel married the slow-burning diesel engine with electric generators and motors, creating a more flexible and reliable propulsion system. Its steel hull, dark and smooth, cut calmly through the sea's gentle folds, carrying cargo with the dependable rhythm of humming machinery below deck. The diesel engine's steady rotation powered generators that sent electric currents to propeller motors, a dance of energy conversion performed with measured grace and an absence of abruptness. One might imagine the gentle vibrations vibrating through thick steel plates, the soft mechanical whir beneath the ship's floorboards, a lullaby of early industrial elegance. It is a quiet marvel that the Vandal's design anticipated the diesel-electric propulsion systems that would become widespread in modern shipping, a slow but steady step toward efficient maritime commerce. Let us float gently onward, envisioning the interplay of metal and energy humming beneath the ocean's vast, silent surface. The decade leading into 1910 saw the advent of the Type A cargo ship, an early steel hull design that marked a transition from wood and iron to the sturdy, yet quietly practical, steel construction that would dominate maritime commerce. These ships, built with riveted steel plates forming a strong, cohesive hull, moved through coastal and ocean waters with reliable steadiness. The steel hull was shaped for maximum cargo space while maintaining stability, the decks a calm expanse of rust-resistant metal punctuated by slow-turning winches and cranes. These vessels carried everything from coal to manufactured goods, their engines puffing steadily and predictably as they traced familiar routes. The construction process was itself a slow, meticulous symphony of hammering, riveting, and welding, each step a gentle echo of human craftsmanship meeting industrial progress. Imagine the quiet clang of steel plates settling into place, the low rumble of diesel or steam engines humbling the day's work, and the steady, unhurried progress of a ship born from the fusion of man and machine, moving softly beneath a sky brushed with distant clouds. In the years following, around 1915, the Type B cargo ship emerged as a bulk carrier, specifically designed for the efficient transport of unpackaged bulk goods like coal, grain, and ore. These vessels featured larger cargo holds and reinforced hulls, their steel plates thick and carefully joined to withstand the slow, persistent stresses of heavy loads and rough seas. The bulk carrier's design allowed for simpler, more direct loading and unloading, with wide hatches that opened onto cavernous holds, inviting the quiet routine of cranes and conveyors. Their engines, often steam-powered at first, thrummed with a constant, deep vibration that echoed through steel decks and down into the holds, creating a steady backdrop for the slow dance of maritime logistics. One might drift in thought to the soft patter of loose grain shifting inside these cavernous spaces, the muted creak of structural timbers supporting steel, and the gentle rush of wind over the ship's superstructure, a lullaby of function and endurance moving at the unhurried pace of commerce. The prototype Liberty ship, developed in 1918, embodied a pragmatic, unadorned approach to shipbuilding born of wartime urgency, but its story is one of methodical, repetitive craftsmanship rather than haste. Designed for rapid construction and mass production, these ships featured steel hulls and steam engines that powered long, steady voyages carrying vital cargo across dangerous waters. The Liberty prototype's boxy hull, though unremarkable in appearance, was the result of countless hours spent balancing cargo capacity, durability, and ease of assembly. The ships moved with a persistent but unexciting rhythm, their engines chugging along without flair, their decks often bare except for the essentials of rigging and deck machinery. This design, born from the necessity of global conflict, quietly transformed the industrial shipbuilding landscape. Let us float gently onward, reflecting on how this vessel, though hardly glamorous, represented a lullaby of standardized manufacture and slow, persistent movement essential to wartime logistics. The Liberty ships of World War II, launched en masse beginning in 1941, embodied the principle of volume and reliability rather than speed or style. These steel-hulled cargo vessels were constructed from prefabricated sections, welded together in a slow but systematic assembly line process that reflected industrial endurance more than delicate artistry. Their steam engines, known for steady if unremarkable performance, pushed these ships across vast oceans, carrying everything from foodstuffs to machinery with unchanging persistence. The hulls, painted in muted grays, were designed to be easy to repair and replace, supporting a wartime economy that valued functionality over form. One might imagine the gentle thump of engines pulsing beneath steel decks, the slow shifting of cargo secured in vast holds, and the soft creak of ships bobbing quietly at anchor in distant harbors. It is a quiet fact that many of these ships continued in service well after the war, their slow but dependable existence a testament to the power of standardized design. Drifting onward to 1943, the Victory ships appeared as improved successors to the Liberty class, designed with subtle refinements for speed and capacity, but still bearing the hallmark steady rhythms of wartime cargo transport. Their hulls were longer and more streamlined, with enhanced engines that allowed for a gentle increase in cruising pace while maintaining fuel efficiency. These vessels carried large volumes of cargo with quiet dignity, their steel decks a patchwork of riveted plates and welded seams, their engines producing a consistent, low drone that blended into the background hum of maritime life. The Victory ship's design considered the slow, practical needs of both cargo and crew, offering more comfortable quarters and better stability without abandoning the deliberate pace of their predecessors. Imagine the steady throb of engines beneath thick steel plates, the muted clatter of deck equipment, and the soft rhythm of the sea's embrace, a lullaby for those who find comfort in the enduring steady beat of progress. The Hog Islander ships of 1945 floated gently into post-war waters as another mass-produced bulk cargo design, their steel hulls constructed to withstand heavy loads and long voyages with quiet reliability. These vessels featured robust hulls and large cargo holds designed for efficiency over aesthetics, their decks often bare except for the essential equipment needed to load and unload bulk goods. Powered by steam or early diesel engines, the Hog Islanders moved with a dependable, unhurried thrum, their presence a steady pulse within the bustling post-war maritime landscape. A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. These ships were named after the Hog Island shipyard near Philadelphia where they were constructed at a remarkable pace, yet each ship's assembly was a careful, repetitive process of fitting together thousands of steel plates and components. Imagine the gentle clank of steel hammers, the soft hiss of steam escaping from engines, and the steady, calm propulsion through foggy harbors, a lullaby of industrial persistence and routine. The year 1951 ushered in a new era with the SS Ideal X, recognized as the first full container ship voyage, quietly shifting the way cargo was handled and transported. The Ideal X, converted from an oil tanker, carried standardized steel containers stacked on deck and within holds, enabling efficient loading, unloading, and transfer across different transportation modes. This method drastically reduced the slow and laborious practice of handling individual cargo pieces, transforming maritime logistics into a system of steady, mechanical precision. The ship's engines hummed with calm reliability, propelling the heavy load in a slow but deliberate motion across the sea surface. A soft pause invites us to consider the profound simplicity behind this innovation, steel boxes that fit together like pieces of a gentle puzzle, each one carrying goods across the water with quiet assurance. Picture the ship's decks stacked high with neat rows of containers, the soft clang of steel against steel during loading, and the steady hum of engines, a lullaby of order and quiet efficiency. Sailing into 1955, the Clifford J. Rogers marked an early converted container ship, further developing the ideas introduced by the Ideal X. This vessel was adapted from a general cargo ship, fitted to carry containers with special handling equipment, blending old and new maritime technologies in a slow dance of adaptation. The ship's steel hull moved steadily through harbors and open waters alike, its engines a steady heartbeat that pushed carefully against waves. Cargo handling evolved into a coordinated ballet, with cranes slowly lifting and lowering containers onto decks arranged like sleeping blocks in a quiet city. It is a comforting detail that these conversions allowed the maritime industry to gently transition into containerization without discarding familiar ship designs, embracing change with measured patience. Imagine the muted clang of machinery, the slow rotation of cranes, and the gentle sway of containers, all moving in a peaceful rhythm shaped by human hands and steel. By 1956, the pace of container shipping advanced further with the introduction of the Pasco crane-equipped container freighter, a ship outfitted with specialized cranes designed for the efficient handling of containers. These freighters moved through ports with quiet determination, their decks cleared of loose cargo to make way for neat stacks of metal boxes. The Pasco cranes themselves were marvels of slow, mechanical grace, lifting heavy containers with gentle precision and setting them down in perfect alignment. The steel hulls of these vessels glided calmly through water, propelled by engines humming in a steady, undistracted rhythm. The coordination between ship and crane was a slow, deliberate dance, reflecting the quiet transformation of global trade toward containerized efficiency. Picture the steady rise and fall of cranes against a soft sky, the slow shuffle of workers guiding loads with practiced hands, and the ship's gentle advance into the harbor, a lullaby woven from steel, steam, and patience. The 1959 Santa Eliana introduced the first U.S. foreign container service, bridging distant shores with the gentle hum of international trade. This vessel carried fully loaded containers across oceans with steady reliability, integrating maritime logistics with rail and truck transport in a slow, interconnected system. Its steel hull and modern engines offered a quiet, robust platform for the heavy loads it bore, while its decks displayed rows upon rows of containers like a softly ticking clock, each container a compartment of commerce and quiet promise. This international service underscored the slow but certain globalization of shipping, a gentle weaving together of distant economies through maritime corridors. Imagine the vast expanse of ocean reflected in steel hulls, the faint whistle of wind through rigging, and the consistent pulse of engines maintaining course, a lullaby of connection and enduring routine. Drifting into 1960, the general cargo motor ship emerged as a versatile tramp freighter, designed to carry diverse cargoes without fixed schedules. These ships featured steel hulls powered by diesel engines, their decks often scattered with cargo gear adapted for varied loads. The motor ship moved with a steady hum, engines turning large propellers with a measured rhythm that echoed the unpredictability of their itineraries. The tramp freighter's existence was one of quiet adaptability, ready to visit any port in response to the slow, rolling tides of demand and supply. One might imagine the gentle throb of engines beneath metal decks, the soft clatter of cargo being secured, and the hushed murmur of waves as the ship drifts toward an unknown harbor, a lullaby of quiet readiness and enduring maritime patience. In 1966, the Atlantic span quietly sailed into maritime history as the first purpose-built container ship, marking a gentle shift in how goods traveled across oceans. This vessel was designed from the keel up to carry standardized steel containers, neatly stacked and secured in its holds and on deck, a practice that transformed loading and unloading from a slow, fussy chore into a rhythmic, mechanical flow. The Atlantic span's steel hull bore the weight of these metal boxes with calm assurance, its engines humming steadily as the ship cut through the gentle waves. The design allowed containers to be moved like pieces of a softly turning puzzle, slipping seamlessly between ship, dock, and onward transport. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Atlantic span's introduction was met with cautious optimism, as many in the shipping world were still adjusting to the idea that entire cargoes could be handled as uniform units rather than countless individual items. Imagine the quiet clinks of steel containers settling into place, the slow creak of metal hull plates flexing, and the steady pulse of engines, a lullaby of order in transition wrapped in salt and sea air. 2 years later, in 1968, the American Lancer ushered in another layer of maritime sophistication as the first fully cellular box ship. Unlike earlier container ships with mixed cargo holds, the American Lancer's holds were divided into precise vertical cells designed to cradle containers snugly, reducing movement during voyages and improving safety. This cellular design allowed for faster loading and unloading, a more efficient use of space, and a steadier, quieter ship. Its hull and decks, crafted from steel with riveted and welded seams, moved through water with calm determination. The steady hum of diesel engines below decks provided a soft mechanical heartbeat that carried the ship forward. A slow little detour reveals that the concept of cellular holds was inspired by the careful stacking and bracing methods used in railroad boxcars, itself a quiet evolution in cargo handling across modes of transport. Picture the ship's decks lined with neatly nested containers, each resting within its metal cradle like a feather nestling in moss, the faint clatter of steel on steel, and the gentle, unhurried glide of progress across a calm ocean. In the same pivotal year of 1968, the Hakone Maru quietly became the first Japanese container ship, signaling Japan's growing presence in the global shipping industry. With a steel hull designed to accommodate containers stacked both above and below deck, the Hakone Maru integrated the cellular design principles pioneered elsewhere, while embodying Japanese shipbuilding craftsmanship known for meticulous detail and reliability. The ship's engines emitted a steady, low hum, pushing its streamlined hull gently through the vast Pacific waters with unassuming steadiness. Its decks, orderly and utilitarian, resembled an intricate quilt of metal boxes, each locked into place with precise fittings. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, Japan's entry into container shipping was part of a broader post-war industrial rise, and ships like the Hakone Maru quietly symbolized the country's gradual mastery of large-scale maritime commerce. Imagine the soft ripple of waves against steel, the muted clinking of container locks, and the slow, patient push of engines, a lullaby of quiet ambition wrapped in salt-scented breeze. The dawn of the 1970s saw the arrival of the Panamax bulk carrier, vessels carefully designed to the maximum dimensions allowable by the Panama Canal's original locks. These bulk carriers, with steel hulls shaped to carry enormous loads like coal, grain, or ore, moved through both oceans and canals with slow, deliberate precision. Their boxy hulls and reinforced decks bore the weight of cargoes measured in thousands of tons, each voyage a testament to careful planning and engineering balance. The Panamax design was a soft whisper of constraint and possibility, the ship's length, beam, and draft finely tuned to slip quietly through the canal's locks without fuss. Its diesel engines turned propellers in steady, unhurried revolutions, producing a low, persistent thrum that merged with the sound of water lapping gently against the hull. A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Panama Canal's lock dimensions effectively shaped global ship design for decades, dictating the maximum size of many vessels and embedding a slow but powerful rhythm into maritime commerce. Imagine the gentle opening and closing of canal gates, the calm wash of water behind the hull, and the steady pulse of engines, a lullaby of measured engineering and soft waterways. In the same decade, the Panamax container ship joined the ranks of canal-sized vessels, built to the exacting dimensions needed to traverse the Panama Canal while carrying stacks of steel containers. These ships combined cellular hulls with large deck spaces, their steel hulls structured to bear immense weights with quiet endurance. Engines, often slow-turning diesel types, powered propellers that pushed these giants steadily through coastal waters and narrow canals alike. The Panamax container ship's shape, a blend of functionality and maritime tradition, allowed for efficient transit and the reliable movement of goods on an international scale. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the careful calculation of maximum length, width, and draft for Panamax vessels became a crucial design factor, influencing shipbuilding choices across nations and decades, a gentle testament to how infrastructure quietly guides progress. Picture the ship's decks lined with rows of containers like stones in a mossy stream, the slow rotation of propellers beneath, and the steady advance through soft, shimmering waters, a lullaby of design, constraint, and persistence. The 1970s also saw the emergence of the VLCC, or Very Large Crude Carrier, vessels designed to transport massive quantities of crude oil across oceans with quiet efficiency. These tankers, with their enormous steel hulls shaped for stability and volume, carried millions of barrels of oil in subdivided tanks sealed to prevent leaks and ensure safety. Their engines, powerful yet steady, moved these floating giants with slow, unwavering strength, pushing through waves as vast as forest shadows drifting over mossy ground. The presence of VLCCs in shipping lanes introduced a scale of cargo transport previously unseen, a gentle reminder of the vast resources quietly coursing beneath industrial progress. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the design and construction of these tankers required advances in metallurgy and welding techniques, ensuring that the steel plates could endure immense pressure and corrosive effects without failing, a soft engineering triumph beneath the ocean's embrace. Picture the broad expanse of a tanker's hull reflecting muted sunlight, the slow turning of massive propellers beneath, and the steady hum of engines, a lullaby of scale, strength, and industrial patience. Not far behind, the ULCC, or ultra-large crude carrier, floated into the maritime scene during the 1970s, eclipsing even the VLCCs in size and cargo capacity. These colossal vessels, sometimes reaching lengths exceeding 1,000 feet, carried oil in volumes that seemed almost infinite compared to earlier designs. Their steel hulls were marvels of structural engineering, segmented into multiple tanks with sophisticated safety systems to manage the slow but ever-present dangers of maritime oil transport. Engines powered immense propellers that churned quietly beneath vast hulls, moving the ship with a slow, steady momentum that belied their enormous mass. The ULCCs symbolize the scale of modern industrial enterprise, quietly transporting the lifeblood of economies across oceans. Imagine the gentle swell of waves as the ship moves, the distant rumble of engines harmonizing with the ocean's natural rhythm, and the subtle glint of steel plates under soft skies, a lullaby of magnitude and measured force. During the 1970s, the roll-on/roll-off, or RoRo vehicle carrier, quietly reshaped maritime logistics by allowing vehicles to be driven directly on and off ships via ramps, eliminating the need for cranes to lift heavy cargo. These ships featured large, open decks enclosed within steel hulls, designed for ease and safety in transporting automobiles, trucks, and other wheeled cargo. The engines of RoRo vessels powered propellers that pushed them through coastal waters with steady regularity, the decks echoing softly with the low murmur of engines and the gentle clatter of rolling wheels during loading and unloading. A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the RoRo design has roots in ferry services, slowly evolving into larger vessels capable of ocean crossings, blending the familiarity of road vehicles with the quiet vastness of sea transport. Imagine the soft roll of tires across steel decks, the slow ascent and descent of loading ramps, and the gentle hum of engines moving steadily, a lullaby of innovation and simplicity entwined. Also emerging in the 1970s were LPG gas carriers, ships designed to transport liquefied petroleum gas in insulated tanks safely tucked within their steel hulls. These vessels moved with quiet grace, their powerful yet steady engines pushing them through calm or choppy seas as they carried flammable cargoes requiring careful handling. The hulls were crafted to withstand temperature variations and the gentle pressures of liquefied gases, while safety systems hummed softly below decks to monitor conditions. The slow, methodical operation of LPG carriers is a reminder of the delicate balance between industrial progress and cautious stewardship. Picture the insulated tanks resting quietly within steel frames, the faint hiss of monitoring systems, and the soft thrum of engines, a lullaby of careful containment and measured power gliding across endless waters. In the quiet expanse of the 1970s, the LNG gas carrier emerged, a vessel designed with the delicate purpose of transporting liquefied natural gas, often simply called LNG, across vast ocean distances. These ships are specially crafted with insulated tanks nestled deep within their steel hulls, built to keep the natural gas chilled to around -162 degrees Celsius, so that it remains a liquid, compact and much easier to move than its gaseous form. The steel of the hull, thick and cold to the touch, acts as a steadfast guardian against the outside world, preserving the gas's fragile state like a slow, protective breath wrapped in metal. The engines powering these vessels hum with a steady, measured rhythm, pushing the ship gently through rolling waves, each pulse a soft reminder of the immense care required to transport something so cold and volatile. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the tanks inside LNG carriers are often spherical or membrane type, a quiet engineering marvel designed to accommodate thermal expansion and contraction, as the chilled cargo breathes ever so slightly within its container. Imagine the slow, rhythmic expansion of these tanks, as if the ship itself were breathing, holding its precious cargo with calm patience, gliding through oceans under skies brushed with mist and distant stars. Let us float gently onward, envisioning the low murmur of machinery maintaining temperature and pressure, the soft hiss of cryogenic valves, and the subtle sway of the ship's hull as it carries its chilly, invisible cargo across the silent, endless blue, a lullaby of frozen vapor and steady motion wrapped in steel and patience. In 1971, the Karama Maru joined the world's fleet as a Panamax container ship, embodying the precise engineering and quiet grace characteristic of vessels designed for this canal-limited size. Built with a steel hull designed to maximize cargo capacity without exceeding the canal's stringent dimensions, the Kurama Maru moved with deliberate steadiness, engines humming a soft, consistent drone as it slipped through busy harbors and calm canals alike. Its deck arrangements reflected the cellular container system, creating neat stacks of steel boxes secured by twist locks and lashings, each container resting like a carefully placed stone in a quiet garden. The ship's design represented a melding of industrial efficiency and maritime tradition, a slow but certain stride in the ongoing story of global trade. Let us float gently onward. Imagining the ship's steady passage through waterway corridors, the gentle clatter of container locks, and the calm, rhythmic hum of engines, a lullaby of precision and patience upon the watery stage. The year 1972 brought the Hamburg Express, a fully cellular container ship that exemplified the maturing technology of containerization and ship design. This vessel featured steel holds divided into vertical cells, allowing for the safe, stable stacking of containers below deck, while its expansive deck supported even more containers above. The hull's lines were shaped to reduce drag, allowing engines to push the ship through waves with a smooth and steady determination. The diesel engine's deep rumble combined with the gentle splash of water against the hull created a comforting soundscape of mechanical harmony. A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Hamburg Express was part of the gradual standardization of container shipping that helped transform ports worldwide into highly organized hubs of commerce, where cranes moved slowly and precisely like gears in a giant clockwork. Imagine rows of containers stacked like books in a vast, quiet library, the slow rise and fall of cranes overhead, and the ship's steady glide through gentle seas, a lullaby of structure and serene motion. In the year 1980, the feeder container ship quietly took its place among the ocean's many vessels, serving as a small yet essential link in the vast chain of maritime logistics. These ships, typically carrying between 1,000 and 3,000 TEU, 20-foot equivalent units, the standard measure for containers, are designed to navigate regional waters and smaller ports where the giant vessels dare not tread. Their steel hulls are shaped for maneuverability, balancing capacity with the delicate demands of coastal navigation. The engines hum with a steady, low-pitched thrum, propelling these vessels gently through harbors and along trade routes with the calm determination of a slow-moving clockwork mechanism. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, feeder ships play a vital backstage role, ferrying containers between major ports and their smaller, often less glamorous neighbors, ensuring the steady flow of goods in a global dance as quietly intricate as the unfurling of a feather in a sunlit forest. Picture the soft clinking of containers shifting in their slots, the gentle splash of waves against steel, and the ship's slow, unhurried progress under a sky painted with the soft hues of dawn, a lullaby of regional commerce whispered on the ocean breeze. Drifting onward to 1985, the post-Panamax container ship arrived as a quietly ambitious design, built slightly larger than the limits imposed by the Panama Canal's original locks. Carrying roughly between 4,000 and 5,500 TEU, these vessels embraced broader beams and longer hulls, allowing for greater cargo capacity and the soft promise of economies of scale. Their steel forms sliced through ocean waves with calm authority, engines humming a steady and measured drone beneath decks. The ship's decks, patterned with rows upon rows of containers stacked like orderly blocks of moss-covered stone, formed an almost hypnotic visual rhythm. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the term post-Panamax gently hints at both constraint and liberation, as these ships had to sail around the Cape of Good Hope or through the Suez Canal instead of the Panama, making their journeys a little longer but their cargo hold significantly larger. Imagine the slow, steady progress across vast seas, the faint clang of steel fittings, and the unending hum of engines as the ship carries its layered load across horizons, a lullaby of scale, patience, and quiet strength. Just a few years later, in 1988, the President Truman joined the waters as a notable example of a post-Panamax container ship, carrying approximately 4,300 teo in its capacious holds and on its expansive decks. Its steel hull, designed to maximize cargo space while maintaining structural integrity, moved with gentle determination through trading routes that stretched like veins across the oceans. Engines powered the vessel steadily, their deep, soothing rumble blending into the background noise of the sea's eternal song. The containers on board were stacked with precise care, secured by twist locks and lashings to endure the slow, persistent rocking of the waves. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the President Truman's name pays homage to the 33rd President of the United States, a quiet reminder of history drifting alongside steel and salt. Imagine the soft lapping of water against the hull, the muted clatter of containers settling into place, and the steady, unhurried march of engines pushing the ship gently onward, a lullaby of maritime tradition and measured progress. By 1995, the Oakland, California carried approximately 5,344 teo, a modest increase in capacity reflecting gradual advancements in shipbuilding and container logistics. This vessel, with its steel hull shaped for efficient movement and stability, plied the global shipping lanes with quiet reliability. Its engines emitted a steady drone, a comforting hum beneath the ever-changing sky. The decks displayed rows of containers stacked in a measured pattern, a metal mosaic of commerce moving through time and tide. The ship was a soft echo of both technological progress and the enduring rhythm of maritime trade, quietly threading its way across oceans and harbors. Picture the gentle rocking of the vessel, the faint metallic sounds of cargo settling into place, and the unending pulse of engines, a lullaby of steady growth and unassuming strength. The year 2000 saw the modern Panamax bulk carrier glide through waters, its design refined for maximal use of the Panama Canal's locks while carrying bulk goods like coal and grain. These steel-hulled giants balanced size and maneuverability with the slow wisdom of decades of shipbuilding experience. Their engines hummed low and steady, driving propellers that churned calmly beneath the waterline, while expansive cargo holds quietly bore the weight of their heavy loads. The ship's decks, sturdy and unadorned, stretched out like quiet fields awaiting harvest. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the Panama Canal's lock dimensions continued to influence global ship design well into the new millennium, gently shaping the silhouette of maritime commerce like an unseen hand. Imagine the slow passage through lush canal landscapes, the subtle wash of water against steel, and the comforting drone of engines beneath a cloud-speckled sky, a lullaby of size, function, and gentle constraint. In 2003, the Oakland arrived as a vessel of increased capacity, carrying around 8,063 teo, marking a subtle leap forward in container ship size and capability. Its steel hull, long and broad, supported towering stacks of containers, each secured with precise care to withstand the soft yet persistent rocking of the ocean. The engines, more powerful and efficient than ever before, pushed the vessel through waves with a steady hum reminiscent of slow-turning gears in a well-oiled clock. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, this era saw significant improvements in ship design, propulsion, and loading technology, all converging to allow ships like the Oakland to carry ever more containers in increasingly stable and efficient ways. Picture the rows of containers like dark stones resting in a mossy bed, the gentle rise and fall of the ship's bow, and the quiet symphony of steel and water, a lullaby of scale and technological harmony. The Emma Maersk, introduced in 2006, floated quietly into the category of very large container ships, with capacity ranging between 11,000 and 14,500 teo. This colossal vessel's steel hull was a marvel of modern engineering, shaped to optimize hydrodynamics and stability while supporting immense container stacks that rose like distant towers on the horizon. The engines, massive yet refined, droned steadily beneath decks, their low vibrations resonating through steel beams and cargo holds alike. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, The Emma Maersk was among the first vessels to be powered by large two-stroke diesel engines designed for both power and fuel efficiency, a subtle dance between brute strength and measured restraint. Imagine the soft shimmer of waves reflecting off polished steel, the muted clang of containers settling into place, and the slow, deliberate advance of this floating giant, a lullaby of power, precision, and quiet majesty. The early 2010s brought the Neo-Panamax container ship, vessels built to the expanded Panama Canal dimensions unveiled in 2016 but conceived earlier, carrying approximately 12,500 TEU. These ships balanced increased size with efficiency, their steel hulls designed to slip gracefully through wider and deeper locks. Engines powered them steadily, a deep, resonant hum pushing steel leviathans across oceans with deliberate ease. The decks, patterned with neat stacks of containers, formed a geometric mosaic that seemed to pulse gently with the rhythm of the sea. A slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. These ships anticipated the expansion of the Panama Canal, a quiet symbol of infrastructure shaping the flow of global commerce. Imagine the soft spray of seawater against hull plates, the faint clatter of locking mechanisms securing containers, and the deep, unhurried pulse of engines, a lullaby of anticipation, scale, and steady progress. In 2015, the Megamax 24 container ship pushed boundaries further, with a staggering capacity of approximately 24,000 TEU, making it one of the largest ships to grace the oceans. This vessel's steel structure bore the colossal weight of its cargo with quiet dignity, its hull engineered for stability and fuel efficiency. Engines, massive in scale yet refined in operation, hummed a deep, soothing tone as the ship glided through the waves with unhurried grace. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Megamax 24's sheer size demanded specialized port infrastructure, a reminder that ships and shores must grow in tandem like intertwined roots beneath the earth. Picture the endless rows of containers stretching like stones along a moss-covered path, the gentle rocking of this colossal giant, and the steady, muted roar of engines, a lullaby of scale, coordination, and quiet endurance. The Q-Flex LNG carrier, introduced in 2016, stands as a large and advanced vessel designed for the transportation of liquefied natural gas. These ships feature insulated tanks deep within their steel hulls, maintained at cryogenic temperatures to keep the gas liquefied and compact. The Q-Flex design improved efficiency with dual-fuel engines capable of running on both LNG and traditional fuels, offering a soft technological whisper of environmental progress within the steady march of industry. Imagine the faint hum of temperature control systems blending with the gentle drone of engines, the subtle shimmer of steel glistening beneath soft skies, and the slow, patient glide of this vessel through ocean expanses, a lullaby of careful containment and evolving technology. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Q-Flex is among the largest LNG carriers ever built, a quiet giant that carries energy beneath its protective steel skin like a sleeping beast cradled in a cradle of calm. The Valemax bulk carrier emerged in 2018 as the largest bulk carrier afloat, designed primarily to transport iron ore in massive quantities. These vessels, steel-hulled and broad-beamed, carry cargoes measured in hundreds of thousands of tons, their vast cargo holds resembling deep caverns beneath the ship's deck. Engines, powerful yet steady, churn slowly beneath the hull, pushing these floating giants through coastal waters and open seas alike. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The Valemax's size necessitated specially deep ports, as their draft, how deeply they sit in the water, is significant, making their visits rare and carefully planned, like the slow, purposeful arrival of ancient trees to a clearing. Imagine the soft creak of steel as the ship settles under its heavy load, the gentle rush of water along its sides, and the steady pulse of engines powering this titan of trade, a lullaby of enormity and unhurried might. By 2020, the green methanol tanker quietly entered the stage as a new eco-friendly vessel designed to carry methanol fuel, a cleaner alternative to traditional marine fuels. These ships feature steel hulls fitted with engines optimized for lower emissions and compatibility with renewable fuel sources, marking a gentle shift in maritime industry's embrace of environmental consciousness. The green methanol tanker's engines hum with a smooth, refined cadence, propelling the vessel through the waves with a calm assurance that whispers of a future less burdened by pollution. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, methanol as a marine fuel reduces sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide emissions, softening the ship's environmental footprint like moss cushioning a stone in a forest floor. Imagine the soft glow of the sun reflecting on steel plates, the gentle splash of waves, and the steady, quiet propulsion of this new generation of ship, a lullaby of hope, technology, and tender progress drifting across the sea. In the quiet wake of 2020, a nuclear cargo ship prototype surfaced quietly among maritime innovations, a vessel designed to harness the immense energy of nuclear reactors to propel cargo across vast ocean expanses with a gentle, nearly endless power supply. The steel hull encases complex, heavily shielded reactors, insulated carefully to protect both crew and environment, as the ship hums with a deep, steady, and almost imperceptible vibration. Unlike traditional fossil-fueled vessels, this prototype promises voyages unfettered by frequent refueling stops, drifting with a slow, sustained momentum through deep seas. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, nuclear propulsion in merchant ships has been a rare and cautious endeavor, historically embraced more in military vessels, yet this prototype rekindles interest in combining immense power with maritime endurance, like a sleeping giant cradled beneath layers of steel and water. Imagine the faint hum of the reactor's coolant systems, the subtle vibration transmitted through the hull, and the soft rolling of waves against a vessel moving with calm, nuclear-fueled purpose, a lullaby of enduring energy and gentle innovation. Alongside this innovation in 2020, the offshore wind turbine installation vessel made its unhurried debut, a purpose-built ship designed to assemble and maintain the towering, slow-turning giants of renewable energy scattered across ocean horizons. These vessels, with flat, wide decks and heavy-lift cranes, glide gently through coastal waters, carrying massive turbine components with the delicate care of moss cradling a fallen leaf. Their engines hum steadily, powerful yet restrained, enabling the precise placement of turbine towers and blades with patience rivaling that of the forest's own slow growth. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, these vessels often feature dynamic positioning systems, using thrusters to hold their place against currents and winds as if resting on invisible roots embedded in the sea itself. Imagine the calm choreography of cranes swinging slow arcs, the steady pulse of engines beneath decks, and the ship's quiet glide through briny waves, a lullaby of slow construction and oceanic patience. Also in 2020, the multi-purpose heavy-lift vessel quietly claimed its place as a maritime workhorse, capable of transporting unusually heavy or awkward cargoes that defy typical container shapes. With reinforced steel decks and cranes designed for deliberate, controlled lifting, these ships embody strength wrapped in calm precision. Their engines, steady and unhurried, propel them through oceans with the quiet resolve of a slowly turning gear. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, heavy lift vessels often support offshore construction, moving massive oil rigs or bridge sections like a patient giant carrying carefully balanced stones. Imagine the soft groan of cables under strain, the slow rise and fall of cargo suspended midair, and the ship's deliberate passage across calm waters, a lullaby of measured power and patient transport. The cable-laying ship, another 2020 innovation, glides softly through oceanic depths, carrying coils of undersea cables designed to connect continents and invisible threads of communication. These vessels boast specialized winches and storage holds, slowly unspooling kilometers of cable onto the seabed with meticulous care. Engines hum gently, powering winches and stabilizers that keep the ship's position steady amidst waves and currents. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the process requires careful navigation to avoid underwater obstacles and ensure smooth, unbroken lines, like weaving a tapestry beneath the ocean's quiet surface. Picture the gentle rotation of cable drums, the soft splash of water against hull plates, and the ship's measured progress, a lullaby of connection and silent craftsmanship across shadowed waters. The reefer ship, specialized refrigerated cargo vessels that continued evolving through 2020, quietly carried perishable goods across warm seas, preserving freshness in chilled steel holds cooled by complex refrigeration systems. Their insulated hulls and compartments maintain precise temperatures, humming softly with the constant vigilance of compressors and fans. Engines move these ships steadily through warm currents, ensuring that delicate fruits, vegetables, or meats arrive at distant markets with freshness intact. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, the evolution of reefer ships reflects centuries of trial and error in food preservation, a slow dance between technology and nature's impermanence. Imagine the steady pulse of refrigeration compressors, the soft whistle of cooled air circulating within insulated holds, and the ship's gentle journey beneath lazy, sunlit skies, a lullaby of preservation and quiet endurance. In 2021, the ultra-large container vessel, or ULCV, expanded the horizons of maritime cargo, boasting capacities exceeding 20,000 TEU, the largest floating container cities gently traversing the seas. These massive steel giants are designed with hydrodynamic efficiency in mind, their broad beams and long hulls slicing through waves with an unhurried grace. Engines of colossal scale hum steadily, pushing these ships across oceans with the quiet dignity of ancient glaciers moving imperceptibly. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, these ships require specially deep ports and advanced cranes, weaving a slow, intricate ballet of logistics and engineering on the shore. Picture endless stacks of containers rising like dark towers beneath the pale sky, the gentle sway of the ship as it carries its vast burden, and the deep, rhythmic drone of engines, a lullaby of scale, precision, and relentless calm. The general cargo feeder ship of 2021 took on a humble yet vital role, ferrying assorted goods in smaller volumes to and from regional ports. Designed for flexibility rather than sheer size, these steel-hulled vessels balance cargo variety with manageable dimensions, their engines purring softly as they traverse coastal routes and river mouths. The decks often bear a patchwork of crates, pallets, and occasional containers, arranged with deliberate care. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, general cargo feeders evolved from multi-purpose designs that prioritized adaptability over specialization, gently echoing centuries of maritime practicality. Imagine the quiet clatter of varied cargo settling into place, the steady drone of engines beneath a pastel dawn, and the ship's gentle progress through sheltered waters, a lullaby of versatility and patient service. The hybrid electric ferry, emerging in 2022, gently bridged tradition and innovation by combining electric propulsion with conventional engines to carry passengers and cargo on short sea routes. These vessels feature steel hulls optimized for efficiency and reduced emissions, their engines switching quietly between power sources depending on conditions. The electric motors whisper softly as they propel the ferry through calm bays, while diesel engines stand ready like slow, patient friends for longer stretches. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact, hybrid propulsion reflects an embrace of environmental stewardship, a quiet nod to reducing the maritime footprint in familiar coastal waters. Picture the soft, almost inaudible hum of electric motors, the gentle lapping of water along the hull, and the ferry's smooth glide beneath sleepy skies, a lullaby of balance, innovation, and tender progress. In 2023, the zero-emission cargo ship prototype floated gently into maritime experiments, designed to traverse waters without releasing carbon emissions. Utilizing clean energy sources such as batteries, wind assist sails, or hydrogen fuel cells, these vessels represent a soft revolution in ship design. Their steel hulls, sleek and purposeful, cut through waves with measured elegance, while propulsion systems hum quietly, powered by technology that whispers promises of cleaner oceans. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The development of zero-emission ships faces challenges of energy storage and power density, requiring patient innovation and gradual integration. Imagine the near silence of engines powered by pure currents, the subtle glint of clean steel under soft sunbeams, and the ship's gentle glide, a lullaby of hope and quiet transformation on the water. The hydrogen-powered tanker prototype, appearing also in 2023, explores the delicate balance of transporting and utilizing hydrogen fuel for maritime propulsion. These vessels incorporate insulated tanks to safely carry liquid or compressed hydrogen, along with engines designed to convert hydrogen into power with gentle efficiency. The steel hull encloses these systems like a protective shell, shielding the quiet process from the surrounding sea and sky. Engines hum with a soft, futuristic rhythm, pushing the ship steadily onward through waves that ripple like slow pulses. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Hydrogen as a maritime fuel offers high energy content per mass but demands careful handling due to its low temperature and flammability, a quiet dance of science and caution. Picture the faint glow of instrumentation panels inside, the soft hiss of cooling systems, and the ship's patient passage beneath gentle clouds, a lullaby of innovation balanced by prudence. The multi-purpose logistics support vessel of 2023 embodies versatility wrapped in steel, designed to support a variety of missions including cargo transport, disaster relief, and offshore operations. These ships carry cranes, modular cargo holds, and facilities for specialized equipment, moving with a slow and steady determination across coastal and open waters alike. Engines hum reliably, propelling the vessel through waves with a measured cadence. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The concept of multi-purpose logistics support vessels grew from a desire to maximize flexibility in maritime operations, blending commercial and governmental needs in a gentle compromise. Imagine the quiet clank of cranes lifting modular cargo, the subtle creak of steel decks flexing, and the steady pulse of engines, a lullaby of adaptability and calm service upon the sea's broad stage. In the gentle tides of 2023, the car carrier, often called the pure car in truck carrier or PCTC, slipped softly into ports around the world, its purpose as specialized as a quiet forest glade. These vessels are designed with vast, enclosed decks, sometimes numbering up to a dozen layers, carefully crafted to cradle thousands of vehicles, from compact cars to hefty trucks, as if they were mossy stones resting softly upon layered shells. The steel hull envelops these decks like a slow-moving arc, protecting the precious cargo from salty air and restless seas. Engines murmur steadily beneath the waterline, pushing the ship forward with a measured, unhurried rhythm that speaks of patience and steadfastness. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The internal ramps within the ship allow vehicles to be driven on and off with delicate precision, as if the ship itself were a quiet mountain path winding gently upward through layers of moss and bark. Imagine the muted sound of tires rolling on steel, the faint echoes within cavernous cargo decks, and the ship's calm glide beneath soft skies, a lullaby of carriage and careful protection, transporting human inventions with tender care across the slumbering seas. Emerging in 2024, the automated autonomous cargo ship prototype represents a slow revolution in maritime movement, replacing traditional human crews with sophisticated computer systems and sensors that guide the vessel through calm and storm alike. These ships, clad in steel and crowned with antennas and radar domes, drift across oceans under the watchful eyes of algorithms rather than human sailors. The engines hum with a steady, almost mechanical precision, responding to unseen commands that direct course and speed with quiet efficiency. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. The autonomy systems rely on layers of redundancy and fail-safes, ensuring that each decision is double-checked, like the slow, careful folding of a leaf before it settles to the ground. Imagine the gentle flicker of screens inside distant control centers, the quiet pulse of satellite signals, and the ship's smooth, unhurried passage beneath clouds drifting lazily overhead, a lullaby of technology, calm, and unblinking vigilance. The smart container feeder ship, another arrival of 2024, carries the promise of integration and subtle sophistication. These vessels, modest in size but advanced in systems, ferry containers with an intelligent network of sensors, communication devices, and automated loading mechanisms that speak of a slow, deliberate harmony between steel and data. The hull moves steadily through coastal and regional waters, engines humming a gentle, predictable rhythm. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Smart feeders employ real-time tracking and automated cargo adjustments to optimize balance and fuel efficiency, like a patient gardener tending a sprawling, interconnected moss bed. Imagine the faint beep of monitoring systems, the soft clatter of robotic cranes, and the ship's gentle glide beneath a sky dusted with drifting clouds, a lullaby of data, precision, and quiet movement. Also in 2024, the offshore platform supply vessel serves as a sturdy and dependable companion for the oil, gas, and renewable energy industries scattered far from shore. These ships, built with reinforced steel hulls and spacious decks, carry supplies such as drilling equipment, pipes, and fuel, moving slowly and steadily to support towering platforms standing like ancient trees upon the sea. The engines hum with steady resolve, navigating sometimes choppy waters with a calm persistence born of careful design. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. Many of these vessels feature dynamic positioning systems that use thrusters to maintain exact positions against shifting winds and waves, as if rooted by invisible tendrils in the ocean's gentle currents. Imagine the soft splash of water against the hull, the measured hum of engines and thrusters, and the vessel's slow, purposeful approach to its offshore companion, a lullaby of support, steadiness, and quiet strength amid vast, open waters. The multi-purpose roll-on/roll-off cargo ship of 2024 extends a patient versatility to maritime logistics, designed to carry wheeled cargo, cars, trucks, trailers, that can be rolled directly on and off the vessel, as well as other types of cargo stored with deliberate care on deck or in holds. Its steel hull and vast internal ramps create a labyrinth of paths for vehicles, merging efficiency with careful protection. Engines push the ship through ocean waves with a steady, unhurried drone, the vessel structure humming softly as it moves. But first, a slow little detour. For this extra interesting fact. These ships combine elements of traditional Ro-Ro design with multi-purpose holds, making them maritime Swiss Army knives, capable of adapting to the soft demands of varied cargo. Picture the quiet rolling of tires on steel ramps, the slow closing of heavy doors sealing the cargo bays, and the ship's gentle journey beneath a sky brushed with wisps of cloud, a lullaby of adaptability, quiet power, and slow, steady progress upon the sea. And so, dear listener, we have drifted through the slow and peaceful evolution of early boats, from bundles of reeds to carved logs, from bipod masts to planked hulls, each step a quiet whisper of human ingenuity meeting the stillness of water. No one asked for this. And yet, here we are, floating softly on these currents of new and ancient history. You may not care. And that is completely fine. There is no need to remember anything, just let the images and words drift gently through your mind, like feathers falling on a still pond. If your eyes are closed, if your thoughts are drifting, then my job here is done for today. Thank you for spending this unremarkable moment with me. You have listened to The Sleepy Sloth, where uninteresting things become the softest lullabies.